All right, we'll call the Plan Commission meeting to order. First thing I would like to do, after I find the cover for my mic, Mike was playing with that last night, is welcome Tori Boomsma to the Plan Commission. She is filling the seat of Mary Yakub, so it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Thank you for doing this. All right. Everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes?
I will move to approve, or second.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Concept Development Plan Review of 585 Annabelle Way, Hearth Development.
Good evening, everyone. So the applicant tonight is looking to propose developing a 92-dwelling apartment complex within the Bella Rose residential development. The proposal includes a 159,644 square foot, 3-story tall building with an underground garage for parking 99 vehicles, along with a surface parking lot comprising of 86 stalls. The dwelling units are a mix of 1 to 3 beds. An outdoor amenities gathering space is also proposed in the back of the building. The architecture style, as you are probably aware, in order to comply with the conditional use permit for this development, it requires it to meet certain architectural standards, which are outlined in that. So to do that, they're mimicking the style of the currently existing apartment building that is there. With that said, staff is recommending approval of the concept development plans with the listed stipulations in the report.
And then just for the record, this was part of the initial
Right.
development.
I concur that we knew this was coming, and I don't think it surprised any of us, and so I will move for approval with city conditions.
I'll second.
Got a motion and second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Development Plan Expansion Review of 2221 Jackboro Drive, A and K Construction.
So this applicant is requesting to add an expansion to the existing building comprising a 3,813 square foot indoor warehouse space with connected loading dock and retaining wall, along with the 1,765 square foot office area expansion to include 6 additional individual office rooms. The roofing materials would be matching the existing warehouse and the office addition as well as all external material facade items such as pre-finished textured insulated metal panels are going to match the existing building as well. So pretty minor expansion project, but all the same still requires approval. So with that, we do believe the expansion continues to meet all municipal code requirements, so staff recommends approval with the conditions listed.
I'll move to approve.
I'll
with
second.
the conditions noted.
And I will second that.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Certificate of Compliance for Interstate Truck Driving School at 1401 Gateway Circle, Bill Collins.
So Mr. Bill Collins is requesting to operate a commercial truck driving school in a B2 general commercial zone. The space is immediately adjacent to their current tenant space at 1301 Gateway Circle to the north. This business narrative that they have attached to their application proposes that the facility would be used for classroom and shop work only and would operate from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday, accommodating class size averages of 10 students for every 1 instructor, with 4 full-time instructors and 1 part-time. As per the applicant in their narrative as well, they noted that CDL road tests would not take place at this site, as it wouldn't be sufficient room to perform backing maneuvers. So the site would only serve to house trained vehicles and for classroom instruction. With the listed conditions, staff does recommend Plan Commission forward a recommendation of approval to council for the certificate of compliance.
Also move.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Downtown Design Review Certificate for 523 2nd Street, Paul Rohde.
The property owner of 523 and 525 2nd Street is requesting to install an outdoor patio space behind the property 525. for 523 Second Street's use. The property tenants are St. Croix Cigar at 525 and Main Plate at 523, just for all of your references. The proposed patio would be used as outdoor seating for Main Plate customers. The patio would be 216 square feet in area, or about 12 by 18 feet, and would be enclosed within a 5-foot or 6-foot fence and paved with earth and tone pavers. The proposal would not take away any existing parking on site, nor would any garbage receptacles need to be moved in order to accommodate this patio. So staff would recommend approval of the proposal with the listed conditions, including the one noting that a cross-access and use agreement be between the two properties, 523 and 525, be drafted and filed with the Register of Deeds office.
I'll move to approve the design review certificate with the conditions stated.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, discussion?
I think it'd be a nice addition.
I have a question. When they add these patios, that increases the capacity of the restaurant or the business, correct? And are there fees for parking for businesses, for restaurants per se, that are tied to their capacity? And if so, are those reconsidered when these come through?
That's a bit of a,
Loaded question.
not loaded per se, but it's got a couple of answers to it. So our parking requirements, as they are in downtown, it's that spaces that have 6,000 square feet or less of gross leasable floor area do not require parking accommodations.
Okay.
Anything beyond that, then they do have to accommodate for every 200 square feet. With Main Plate being as small as it is,
Right.
they wouldn't need to accommodate, even with the patio expansion as it is.
All right.
Doesn't it also affected by whether it's permanent or temporary too? I mean, if it's not year-round, it's temporary or, you know, seasonal, if you want to call that, and you can't, it's not
Yeah.
fair to get somebody on a seasonal
Right, yep.
issue versus,
You're not gonna sit out there in the winter?
no, I'm not. So anyway, I mean, I'm just trying to bring up the only other reason why, you know, it should be considered a non,
Great.
because I was after that before, as I think people remember, and I wondered the same issue, and I brought up another restaurant that kind of did the same thing, that added outdoor seating, but it was deemed temporary and not permanent, and because of that, and then the building was of the lesser, you know, the 6,000 or less.
Right.
It had a combination of the two, so with those two together, yeah, they don't need to supply, you know, payment in lieu of parking, and I guess is what I was after at the time too.
All right.
So, but good question.
All right, anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Downtown Design Review Certificate for 125 Second Street South, Mainstream Boutique.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Yep,
You too.
Take care.
So Solacom, on behalf of the business owner, is requesting to install 4 wall signs and 1 projecting sign for Mainstream Boutique. Staff has, this is a pretty lengthy list of signs, so I'm just gonna let you all know. They do meet code requirements and as well as for NR 118 statutory requirements, municipal sign ordinance, so therefore staff recommends approval of the proposal.
Also move.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Downtown Design Review Certificate for 206 Second Street, Miller Beauty.
So this one, Sign Art, on behalf of the business owner, is also requesting a replacement wall sign and tenant panel at 206 Second. These replacements include 1 illuminated wall sign, 21.93 square feet in area on the north wall, 1 tenant panel of 8 square feet on the existing freestanding sign. Again, meets all requirements for the downtown overlay and municipal sign ordinance, so we would recommend approval.
So move. Second.
Motion is second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Downtown Design Review Certificate for 236 Cooley Road, Casanova Liquors, and the Nova.
So once again, from Sign Art, on behalf of the business owner, they are looking to request the installation of 2 new projecting signs at this property. They include one projecting sign for the Nova and one for Casanova Liquors. Both are approximately 8 to 8.5 square feet in area and internally illuminated, projecting no more than 4 feet out of the wall, and would be placed on the building's north wall near the east and west corners of the building. As all requirements are once again met, staff is recommending approval.
So moved.
Second?
All right, motion second to approve, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Recommendation on updates to municipal code section 255-90 and section 255-91.
So our city attorney has recommended some updates to our municipal code pertaining to the Board of Appeals. These proposed updates would align the Board of Appeals section of zoning code with that of Wisconsin state statutes and standards. So staff does concur with these updates and would like to see these implemented, I would say, as soon as possible. But obviously, we have to go through the proper procedures, have council review and approve it as well. But that being said, the proposed updates specifically would update voting thresholds to the majority vote of the members present with a quorum to reflect that of Wisconsin statute again, and would also update our standards for variance applications to be the 3 primary statutory standards outlined by the state, which are unnecessary hardship, unique hardship to the property that is not created by the property owner, and that a variance shall not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other properties in the neighborhood. So, pretty straightforward, although I know variance requests can be a little daunting. So if you guys have questions about this, feel free. I will note, we did get a letter from Eckberg Lammers after the more recent litigation involving Roeder Walton, where we wanted to get some history and feedback on how voting works with the Board of Appeals and how our code differentiates from state currently. And it was back in 2005 was when the state removed the requirement of having at least 4 members vote on a variance for approval and turned it into a quorum. So if you don't know, Board of Appeals just requires 5 members to be present, or 5 members total, with a couple being standby.
They're alternates.
Alternates, that's the term. So with that, yeah, obviously with 5 people, a majority equates to 3. So state statute requires 3, but we right now require 4. So this would just remove the need for 1 extra person down to 3.
I'm curious, did anybody look up under E3 what injurious means?
What?
Injurious? In the changing of the wording?
Yeah?
Injurious, what is
Causes
it?
injury.
That causes injury, yeah.
So who determines that?
In E3, I'm trying to even find that.
Just ambiguous, it's a
What's the
question.
context again?
Well, that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located. Who decides that?
The Board of
The Board of
Appeals.
Appeals.
So question on that, that's in black, did that, that was in existence, so they're suggesting removing the petition for a variance is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the value or income potential of the property. So that's the part that they want to remove, and isn't that part of the state requirement?
So for E, those 5 listed, and 3, well, the third one and the 5th one are kind of being, it looks like removed. And essentially our current Board of Appeals code has these extra items kind of called out to be discussed. And it becomes confusing for the Board of Appeals when we have a Wisconsin statute with very clear 3 statutory standards. And then our code has kind of this extra language. It's not saying that the discussion about why the petition for a variance is not based exclusively on a desire to increase the value or income of a property, or that the proposed variance will not jeopardize the spirit of the code. It's not saying that those things aren't important in the discussion, but they're not fitting within those 3 statutory standards that like the state is saying to discuss. So those other items are kind of included in training and overall, you know, direction to the Board of Appeals, but isn't those like 3 standards that the state wants us to go through.
And the state standard is what we have to follow, correct?
Yeah, and that's what,
And that overrides this.
yeah, we'd like, staff is desirous of this, it to be more aligning with the state codes, so it does kind of hit those 3 things. It feels like sometimes in a Board of Appeals meeting, we have the Board of Appeals are talking about these 5 items when state code really only requires these 3.
Sure.
So there would only be 3 people then on appeals?
So that's, we've been discussing the standards. Tiffany was kind of bringing up the quorum. So the Board of Appeals is made up of 5 members, 2 alternates that fill in. Currently, our city code requires 4 of them to vote for approval. In 2005, that became basically, you know, not
Majority quorum.
not applicable anymore with the new state standards. So since then, we've been kind of operating with the 4 required, but state standards state statutes lets Board of Appeals operate at a majority vote.
I would like to see an odd amount, 5 or 3, I don't know, 4 can end up in a 2-2 vote, unless there's somebody throws in, there's another person that can vote on that, but you gotta have it in balance, so it comes out one way or the other, 5 or 3, I don't see how 2 and 2 can work, or 4 people.
Yeah, and the
That's
board.
my opinion, I mean.
The Board of Appeals, just as a recommending board about this, like recommended approval of these updates to Plan Commission and the council. And it oftentimes happens that it's hard to, you know, with a board of 5 members, it's hard to get at least 4 or 5 at every single meeting. It can be challenging, and
You only need 3.
in an updating it, it would be allow for 3 or, you know, majority vote. And the city attorney kind of concurred that that probably is why the state statute changed.
Back when I was on that, back in 1947. It was the exception to grant those variances. And so it was tough. It was not a fun committee to be on.
And it's been that way up until,
Until when?
I don't know, I mean, I was gonna say it's been that way as far as I know even today.
Yeah.
Any variances, I mean, you're fishing in a pool full of alligators, I mean, you're gonna get eaten, it's not gonna go. And I mean, it sends a message, when you kind of hear that historical thing that, be very, very careful if you're going there with this, because it's gonna be tough. And I don't feel that's a bad message to be sending, personally. So, I mean, I like that, to be honest with you.
I agree.
So, I mean, I'm kind of hoping to keep things with those flavors in mind. So,
Was there looking for action on that?
Yeah, do we need?
do we need,
Move to approve or move to adopt, what do you?
Looking
Move to
to
send
forward a recommendation to council,
council?
right?
Okay.
Emily?
will they
And-
approve or disapprove with no
Forward of-
further changes?
Yeah. And also to
Sure.
request, I think, to set a public
Well, no,
hearing
I
with
mean-
council.
No, I
right?
agree, but I mean, an appropriate motion would be to forward it to
To
council
council.
with a recommendation for or against.
As written.
Yeah, and there will be a public hearing at
As this is
council.
part of zoning code, so it does require a public hearing
It's
process.
not done yet, then.
No.
Okay. I'll go along with that, then.
Okay? That's your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A second. Motion second. Any discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I don't have anything. Anybody?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
I do have a question though, off